As you've known, acronyms are accountants' favorite friends. We have a whole bunch of them, and we're just now going to run into another one. SG&A, Sales, General, and Administrative Costs. Now, SG&A is the second category of costs that we run into when we look at an income statement. Remember, at first, we had sales, then we had COGS, cost of goods sold, and now we have SG&A. Now, if COGS is what directly goes into the product or service that we just sold, SG&A is pretty much everything else. So for example, let's look at our sandwich shop again. I just sold 10 sandwiches. What's not included in that sandwich are things like my electricity bill, my marketing, and my actual rent for my sandwich shop to begin with. In COGS, we just looked at the meat, the bread, the condiments, things like that. SG&A has everything else. So, that marketing campaign I made about my brand new sandwich shop, that's gonna be an SG&A. The rent that I just paid in order to open my sandwich shop, that's gonna be an SG&A. And hell, even my secretary's salary, that's all gonna be an SG&A. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, okay, how much of my secretary's salary are we actually gonna be able to put on in the income statement? I mean, she didn't make any sandwiches, so for the 10 sandwiches I sold today, how much of my secretary's salary goes onto that? And while it's not as clean as a matching principle for COGS, which is, hey, you made 10 sandwiches, bread and the meat and the condiments that it took to make those are all the costs. Now, SG&A is a little bit different. You see, in SG&A, you have to either find the lifetime of the costs, or you have to figure out when the costs actually kind of went into use. For example, let's say that for my secretary, I paid her $12,000 this past year. And in 1 month, I know that she's gonna make $1,000. Well, when I do the accounting for that month, $1,000 of her salary that I might have already paid or maybe not have paid is gonna go into the SG&A category. So once again, we find out that you don't actually have to pay the costs for them to be on the income statement. Or if you already paid all the costs, like let's say I paid my secretary up front, I paid her $12,000 in January and she's good until December, then I only record $1,000 of that in SG&A for January, because that's 1/12 of her working kind of life at the firm. Now, that doesn't quite work for marketing expenses. Think about that like an advertisement or an ad campaign or something like that. A lot of times marketing is done and worked on, and a lot of costs are spent a long time before the ad actually runs. So let's say that I spent $10,000 making up a marketing campaign for my new sandwich shop, and that was over the last year. Now, those costs don't actually come on to my income statement until the marketing is actually ran. Till that ad campaign actually runs in, say, January or February, then I can actually say, oh, the ad campaign is running, now those costs can come over from all the stuff I spent money on building the campaign to begin with. So, SG&A can be a little bit tricky. It takes a little bit of inside knowledge to figure out exactly what's going into SG&A. And we'll get into something called footnotes when we look into companies when we do a financial analyst. But for right now, let's remember a few things. One, SG&A is pretty much anything that did not directly go into the product. For our sandwich shop, anything that's not bread, the sandwich maker's salary, or meat or condiments, all the stuff that actually made the sandwich, everything else is SG&A. And because it's a little complicated, like office rent, salaries, marketing expenses, you have to have a little bit of inside knowledge about, okay, when does the marketing actually go into effect? How long is the secretary's salary gonna last for? How long was the rent that I just paid? So, SG&A can be complicated, but in general, we have a pretty good grasp of what it's like and what it does. Put together, COGS and SG&A will make up the great majority of all costs facing business, because those are the two costs that it takes to kind of run the entire business. What it costs to make the product, and then kind of what it costs to run the rest of the business in general.